Hello, this is Neil Fontaine, the art instructor at MasterPaintNow.com and Udemy, and also now best-selling author for my book on Amazon, How to Draw Awesome Figures. I had a lot of requests to do a male version of my How to Draw the Female Figure from Your Mind. They wanted to How to Draw the Male Figure from Your Mind. So here's a very basic stiff pose of the male from the front view. And we're going to learn how to draw the male from the front view, but we're going to do a little more dynamic pose when we learn how to do this. But the basic principles that we learned in drawing the female figure from your mind apply here to the male. That is, we're going to stick with the typical A-heads, tall male. And you want to start out with your head and just kind of place it here. I'm going to use this grid here so it's an easy way to have the 8 heads. So I know that I have 4 here, then I'll have another 4 down here, and I know the feet will be in here. At that halfway mark, this is where you put your pelvic bone. Now, if you haven't watched that, we're going to put black here so you can see it's better. If you haven't watched that other video, then definitely watch it because it shows you how to draw the female figure if you're interested in doing that. So I'm just going to kind of lay in a basic idea of the figure. Now, the next thing I want to do is when I put in the neck is about, if you divide the head into like 4 parts, it's about 1/4 of the head to 1/3 of the head is how long you want to make the neck. And this is where you're going to begin to have your collarbones. And then you just kind of draw them out, and I'm going to just put them out like this. Now, how wide your male is really depends on the male, but typically 3 heads wide. So if your head is this wide, then go ahead and put out that same width out here. And this will be like where the end of the collarbones meet, and this will be where your shoulders go. And so you might be a little bit wider than that where the shoulders go. Next thing I want to do is I want to kind of have a cool style here. So first thing is that you draw the arm to figure out where the elbow is. You go from the tip of the collarbone, or where your humerus bone would connect to your collarbone, and come down to your halfway point or the bottom of the crotch and draw a straight line. Take that line, divide it in half so you have 2 equal parts, and that's how you find out where the middle of your arm is. It's a really important line because not only is that the middle of your arm, it's also where the bottom of the rib cage will be. So just kind of put in the basic idea of a rib cage here. And this is where you can kind of start to figure out, how big the deltoids are all going to be. This is a really important measurement to memorize. And then here's where your hands will fit in, somewhere right about here. We're gonna add a more dynamic pose. I just want to show you that's where everything goes, how you measure it. Now, if I want to take that same arm, I want to take it and move it out more like this. Let's say out more to the sides. All I have to do is know, okay, well, what's that halfway point? Once I know that halfway point, I have a good idea of how long I need it. So I can imagine that same line coming out like this, like a circle. That same line coming out like a circle. Now I can draw the arm wherever I want it to. So I kind of bend the arm this way out and kind of curve it in like this. And then the hand would be here. And that would be if he has this kind of more masculine type of pose, which is what I want to go with here. Something like that. If you know a little bit about anatomy, then you know that as your ribcage come up here, you have this sternoid, and then you have the pecs that come and connect to about the 6th and 7th rib, and they kind of come down, and they kind of come up here and they connect to your arm, like that. So they're gonna have this kind of twisted, not twisted, just triangle look. And the pec is kind of pulling up this way and stretching. I didn't mean to say twist, I meant to say stretching. So something like that. Now, if you want to get more detail in how to draw the human figure from imagination, that's exactly what my course, How to Draw, or rather it's called Anatomy for Figure Drawing in Comics. And so definitely pick that up. It's on my website there, masterpaintnow.com. I'll link to that in the video, and I'll also link to it in the description. So you can go and check that out. And if you want to know more about how to draw dynamic poses and how to draw, really awesome poses for comic books or just whatever you want to do it for, concept art, whatever, then check out my How to Draw Awesome Poses course. Anyway, so the next thing is we want to put the trapezius and deltoid in here, but we'll figure that out in a second. Let's go ahead and continue on with measuring the figure. As we come down, we know we're going to have love handles in here, and they're going to go on top. So what I like to do is when I draw my V for males, I make sure I have room up here, this kind of like almost like this like Superman type shape like this, and I have the rib cage like this. That way there's some space in between here, like that. That's how I like to draw and imagine. That's like the basic shape of it. And laying out the basic shapes for your figure, I think, is a good way to start drawing. These little lines right here, for me, they represent the love handles. I know my love handles are going to fit into that area, like so. like that. And I'll have the other more kind of flat muscle. Then you have the rib cage and the latissimus dorsi coming down and so forth. But going something like that works really good. And then I like to, if I have my love handles here, have my belly button somewhere around that area or a little bit below it. That's just how I like to do my belly buttons. Now it's up to you where you want it exactly on your male figure. Typically, anatomically, it is actually just a little bit above where the top of your love handles will be, but love handles are usually located anatomically a little bit higher than that, so they'd be located more like here, like this. And it all depends on, style. I like to draw very stylistic figures, but, so it all depends on the kind of style you want to draw. On the belly button would be right below that line right there. And that's where you're going to have your abs. We'll get into the more details after we have the basic idea of the pose down. Right, so that's for the upper body. So we have the upper body figured out now. We know that arms are going to fit in that area, upper and lower arm. We'll get into how we figure out the deltoid and everything like that, how big it's going to be. Then the legs. So what can make a powerful pose? One thing to make a powerful pose is always just widening your stance. So if you just kind of widen the stance of your legs, that really helps, I think, sell this kind of more powerful pose. So typically you have your bones that come out here, like this, and they come down. And then you have the halfway point between that, and that's how you find your knees. Your knees are right above the halfway line. And so this will be your upper leg, and then you'll have your lower leg. All right, this basic shapes. Now if you take that same idea and kind of have a circle line, like as if you're going to make this is to make a circle, all the way around. That's a horrible circle, but I can't really, trying to, some of that's going off of my screen here, so it's kind of hard to see where the circle will be. But just imagine a circle like that. I just imagine the arc of part of the bottom of a circle on both things here. And now if I take the leg and I pull it out here like that, I know that's kind of how the person has to stand, and his feet would have to be on that plane there, right? Because he's pulling his legs out, which actually makes them shorter. So when a person stands in this stance, that's why they will appear shorter, because their legs are coming out. And since their legs are coming out or further apart, the further apart they go, then the shorter the person appears to be, the closer their crotch gets to the ground. So having this kind of wide stance like this, I think, makes for a pretty powerful pose. Right, so that's all the, I'm going to go and erase a lot of this here since that was just there to demonstrate how to figure out how far down the legs go in and all that kind of stuff. Now I'm not going into super detail here. Again, I save that for my courses, but hopefully this will be very helpful for you in drawing the male figure. All right, let's continue on. Now we have the beginning of a pretty cool pose here. We're going to definitely be changing the shape of the fist. There's a certain fist that's really popular in heroes in the superhero pose, and we'll be drawing that. And for a front-facing pose, I think this is a very powerful pose. I think it's one of the strongest poses for a male when they're facing straight forward, personally. All right, so let's go ahead and add the basic shape of the leg here. Now, if you want to get into anatomy and things like that and learn how to do all this from your imagination, then definitely, again, I highly recommend my anatomy for figure drawing. Typically, male legs are buffer toward the bottom part of the leg here, like this. So if you're kind of wondering, like, why is he drawing this line here? This is serratus muscle. This kind of S curve comes down here. And you might be wondering why I'm drawing that, and, what is all that about? And I go through all that in my anatomy course. I just don't want to make this too long. I will be making a more detailed drawing lesson on how to draw the male figure from imagination for my paid channel as well. It's $1.99 a month, and I have tons of videos on there already. I think I have like 56 videos on there already. All of them are full drawing lessons, and I'll be adding more as time goes on, and I try to add to it as much as possible. And yeah, so if you want to watch an extended version of this idea, that is how to draw the male figure from imagination, go into more detail about the anatomy and things like that, maybe a couple different poses, then definitely check out, you'll be able to check it out, at least see, the videos there. And then if you get a free preview, I think it's 14 days for free, and you don't have to pay anything. So yeah. Anyway, for $1.99 a month, you can't really beat that for having really access to awesome longer lessons. The reason why I decided to break my videos up that way, have the more shorter lessons here on the popular YouTube channel, and then the longer lessons on the pay channels, because a lot of people just they weren't really interested in that. They didn't want those longer art lessons. So I figured, well, people that really want those longer art lessons, people see value in things they pay for, even if it's just a little bit of money, versus whether it's free. It's just one of those things I learned in sales. It's just the way it is. Let's go ahead and add the basic idea here for the lower leg. Now, how we have the foot facing is another thing that can help make this pose stronger or weaker. Where we can have the feet out to the side like that, and that adds a pretty decently powerful pose. But we can definitely make it more powerful, I think, by maybe turning the feet a little bit toward us, or twisting the legs a little bit toward us rather than seeing the side view. So let's say, what if we take the foot here, and we I imagine it's kind of horseshoe shape. We kind of put it toward ourselves like this. So there's the heel, then you have the front foot coming forward. So it kind of has a shape like this. That right there, I think is a pretty good pose and pretty powerful. And so overall, it'll have this really powerful look to it. Now, if ever you want to, save time in drawing, and the pose is going to be the same on each side, one thing you could do, a little quick trick that's cool about digital, you can do it with pencil and paper too. It's a little bit harder. You use tracing paper, and then you just trace the basic idea of the leg, and then you flip it over, so you're seeing the reverse side of it. You flip the piece of paper over, and then put underneath your piece of paper, and then you draw, and you can also push hard on it, and it'll imprint the pencil onto your other piece of paper. Anyway, there's all different kinds of ways to do that, but on the computer, it's either just copy it, and then you paste it, and then you go to edit and transform, and you flip it horizontally, and put it where you want it to be, and voila, you are done. That's simple. Now, this is just for the the basic idea so far. When you come back in and draw more details and stuff to it, you'll change a lot of things, so they're not going to be exactly identical. Okay, let's kind of zoom in a little bit here as we continue adding in some muscles and stuff for this pose. So how do you figure out the deltoids, where they're at? Well, basically the deltoids take up half of the upper half of the arm. So if you have this length here, that's how big the deltoids are. One big mistake people make when they're drawing the deltoids is they draw them way too short. So they're drawing the arm, and they have the deltoid, instead of taking up this half of the arm here, it's very tiny and short, and it just comes way up here like this, and that's their deltoid, and they have this big old long bicep, and that's not proper. Deltoids aren't like a little sphere at the top of the arm there. And I'm not sure why that happens, but maybe it's because when we think about it, it's kind of deceiving, because the deltoid, the way it connects to the collarbone and kind of comes in like this and out to the side, it has this kind of shape like that, and then the bicep comes here. The bicep looks longer here from this view than does the deltoid, because it's kind of at an angle, and the angles they're hitting the body at. And so it kind of does make the bicep look like take up more space, makes it look like it's longer. And since that's in their head, that when they go to draw it, they draw the bicep incorrectly or too short. So let's go ahead and I'll draw the little indication of the trapezius going back there, which actually comes all the way up and connects part way to the front of that collarbone right there, which is what gives that that shape where you have this kind of hole in between these muscles here. I forget what they're called right now. It's a long, stupid name. Some Latin word, I think, or Greek, one of the two. Pretty sure it's Latin. Like that, and that's what gets that spacing in between there, where you have it like that. Anyway, then you have your deltoid connecting. It starts from about almost the halfway point of the collarbone. So the collarbone is this long. It's about the halfway point. There's a little mark in between here, and that's where the deltoid connects to this part and comes down here, connects like that, connects over, goes across like that. The deltoid comes over like this to the side, kind of has a shape like that. So if you understand the shape of the deltoid, then it makes better sense on how to draw it. And I don't know what's going on here. Why am I must have made a new layer on accident or something. Oh, that's right. Duh, when I made the leg, huh? Alright, so we'll just kind of keep that basic shape there. We have the bicep coming back here, the brachialis in between it. And you have your bicep. the radiobrachialis coming, and the other muscle attaches right to that, comes down to the thumb area. It kind of splits off like that. Put that muscle a little bit farther, the elbow, which you probably wouldn't be able to see from this view actually. When the arm's twisted like this, what you're probably going to see mostly is just that radial brachialis and the other muscle kind of pulling out that way. Looks kind of strange to me how I drew it, but so I'm gonna change this a little bit. I'll show a little bit of the development of the elbow back there. I'm debating whether I want to kind of add this kind of bigger deltoid to the character or not. Maybe even bigger Trapezius dorsi here. Alright, I'm just erasing some of my sketch lines here and starting to come back in and just refining some of the body. But this is pretty much it. I mean, from here it's just about knowing the anatomy of the figure. And that's all you add onto it now. So you already have those basic shapes down, and then now it's just getting to the anatomy of the figure and deciding, whether or not you want to draw it more realistically, or do you want to add a little bit of style to it. I prefer this kind of stylistic look, and so naturally that's what I'm going to go for. I don't know, I got so bored of realism. I hardly ever even try to draw it anymore. And I think a lot of artists do. I think they start out drawing realism and get bored of it and start to develop some sort of style they like, and they start going to that style. I mean, you can go all the way back to like really famous artists. Like, what about let's see, trying to think of one as I'm drawing at the same time. Minot or something like that. Is that his name? Monet. I think it's pronounced Minot though. Anyway, really cool artist. I like a lot of his impressionism. But if you look at some of his earlier work, he knew how to do realism and did his obviously did his fair share of realism. But must have got bored with it and kind of went more and more toward this impressionistic style. Van Gogh is another really popular one. Sometimes people see Van Gogh's work and I think they're like unimpressed by it. And they're like, what? This looks like child's work. He just took his stuff to such a cartoonist, weird style. He kind of went toward like that impressionistic way first, where you're just kind of using paint dabs, and just took it to a full extreme where you're just using like this very almost like just dots of your paintbrush all over almost like you're using dots to make up a painting, or dashes and lines. And then he went to this really kind of abstract, weirdness. But if you look at some of his older work, he can draw really in paint, really realistically. So it wasn't that he didn't know how to do that. He was really good at it. But I think, artists get bored, and so they move on and start developing some sort of style, whatever that style might be. For me, I really like the whole cartoon, exaggerated, and comic book styles. It's really cool. I'm gonna have the bicep kind of really centering here on the front, coming out here like this, and have part of that tricep back there. Now, how you do the deltoids, like I said, it takes about half of the arm. Let's look at this more boring pose over here. You have the deltoid taking up, they have this upper half and lower half of the arm here. So if the deltoid takes up half of that part of the arm, the pec muscles come down a little bit down past that, and they kind of have that kind of angle and come up like this. So if you were wondering where the bottom of it goes, that's how you kind of figure that out. And understanding these relationships to everything, I think really makes it easier when drawing figures. Because if you understand the relationships to things, and you're drawing some weird pose, you can kind of figure, oh, okay, I remember that relationship between the pecs and the deltoid. There's the shoulder. Have this muscle coming out like this, and the other one coming up this way. And we'll have a couple of these under muscles coming out like that, and then kind of a side view of the arm here. Now, what I like to do with the fist, and I think this is, I've always liked this look. It looks really cool. I think I saw it one time in a comic book or a couple comic books a long time ago, and it kind of stuck with me. It's where I remember the wrist. It showed that point right here, the point of the wrist right here, like that, and then the hand came down like this, and they had like this really cool, and then the fist came in this way. This right here would be where, you know, the thumb wraps around making the fist. That would be part of the knuckle right there, and the fist is coming down like that. Maybe it'd show another part of that knuckle, and then, you know, a couple like that, almost like it's slightly showing the other, you know, parts of the knuckles here, as if you can kind of see that top part of the hand, but mainly you're seeing the side view of the hand. And that's like the basic idea, the basic shape. Of course, you know, to make it more accurate, it's a little different than that, but have that basic shape there first really helps. You know, some basic shape like that. That's how I like to imagine it, like this kind of almost like a triangle right here, and then an inverted triangle coming back that way. They cut the tip off, kind of coming together like that. And that's going to be the thumb, and then you have your finger coming down here and wrapping together. Do the same thing for the side over here. So you have that kind of shape like that first, and like this. Now how you decide to draw the hand exactly is up to you. That's just, I found that to be a really cool way that they did it, and the way it looked, I thought it looked pretty cool. So it's kind of come here with the finger, and then we'll have the thumb now take up a big major part of some anatomy of this part. This is a very small drawing, so I can't get too detailed with the thumb or with anything that's small like this. And then you have the finger there. This part of the thumb that's kind of turning away from us, so it's kind of put a little shadow there. Now I might draw just a couple little wrinkles here showing that center part of the finger that's kind of turning in like that. And maybe again you can show another finger coming down further on the side like that. Right, so that's the basic idea, but the main thing that that caught my mind is like the arms, even I think would look better even if we did like this. So let's take the arm. It's still kind of the same pose, but we can take the arm and we can move it out further like this, so it's almost straight. And then the wrist, you know, has this kind of straight, and the wrist kind of bends, the hand kind of comes in, and it kind of really helps pull that power pose there, I think. I'm going to do that for the other arm as well. And to, you know, this is where I'll get into more detail in the pay channel, where I'll go into more about this kind of stuff, like the anatomy of the arm, and then we'll go more into the hand and actually draw and finish that cool fist. So almost like a little mini lesson within the lesson of how to draw that particular fist. Right, now the abs, basically you want to think about the abs, you have one ab here, or, you know, two, but, you know, one set of abs. Another set right above that, and then you have that third set which comes up. And oftentimes it's that kind of angle and you don't really see a whole lot of it. So you have, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's like the part of the rib there more. And it depends on whether you want to draw it like that or not with this longer torso. Typically though, guys don't have those all 8 showing. They'll just have these ones down here. You can kind of see a little bit. These bigger ones here. And you might be able to see these ones, and that's usually it. You just see those right there, and that's all. And then maybe, you know, a guy might, if he's lucky, have an 8-pack, where you can see this kind of upper part a little bit, that upper ab, which actually goes underneath the pec, and not anatomically, but you might be able to see part of the under part of it bulging out. I like to add style to my abs, so that's something you can do too, and I'll just do that really quickly. And so one of the tricks I do to add style to my abs, let's go ahead and zoom in here, make this a little easier to do, is I like to do it like a curve to all the abs. So this upper ab is going to come down like this and have this kind of curve to it like that. The next ab will have that same kind of curve to it. It's going to kind of come in here like this, and it's going to kind of come by curve, I mean almost like this, like V shape like this. So I have this kind of V shape and then kind of come up and around like that. And I'm going to emphasize that, with a little bit of shadow. Of course, you want to keep the idea, how is it, where's the light coming from, and exactly how you do the shadows here. I'm kind of having the light coming more from the right-hand side. These abs, even though they're longer, I like to add, that kind of shape to them as well. And oftentimes less is more when it comes to anything really, abs or whatever. Now, the abs might not take up that much of the middle of the torso. This is a very stylistic, torso here. Very skinny, very stylistic. That's part of the actual buttocks muscles right here. You can see the leg kind of overlapping, and the buttocks are kind of in the back there. Right, so you can also have, some of your serratus muscles and stuff like that on the side over here. I'm just add a couple like that, kind of showing the rib part coming back. I'm not going to do that side. Alright, so we'll go in, like I said, if you want to watch more detail of this, going into more detail with the leg muscles, building them up, going to the knee and the lower calf and the feet and stuff like that, going a little bit more into the head as well. I'll go ahead and take out that line right there actually. Anyway, we'll go more to the head, maybe add a little bit of hair, things like that. But anyway, we'll go into more detail overall for this, for drawing the male figure, doing the fist, things like that. Just trying to decide how much of the. Now, actually, I want this arm to kind of be pulled back more. So, to get the idea that it's pulled back more, I can pull the chest up here. Actually, I'm going to stretch the chest, and have the deltoid come like that. Right, so the deltoid's kind of pulled back a little bit behind the arm. And so it kind of it looks like it's kind of pulling it back more. Still doesn't look quite right to me, but I want to go to the time to fix it, but it's pretty close. Basically, what I need to do to make it a little bit better than this is to come down here, take the arm, kind of pull it like this. Just I don't feel like redrawing stuff. Erase some of this in here. So now you have the pecs are kind of coming in front of the arm a little bit here. And the deltoid is kind of disappearing a little bit, so we're not seeing as much of the deltoid. And then the rib cage and then the bicep rib cage kind of comes like that, and that part. So the arm's being hidden behind the figure a little bit more than over here, because it's kind of being pulled back behind. So that arm's pulled back. You can also pull both of them back. I just want to show a difference between it. So this isn't like a full pose you might want to go with. You probably, one or the other, kind of either have the arms out to the side like this one, or kind of pull both of them back. Having one more forward like that and one more pulled back, it looks kind of odd. So you want to kind of keep it the same for both sides. Another thing you can do, you can kind of twist the upper body, or you can kind of turn the whole entire figure a little bit and have it on a plane like this. That foot be there and that foot be over here. And so the whole thing will be kind of on a 3/4 kind of view. But again, if I do something like that where I turn the view, I'm going to do that in the extended lesson. I try to keep my lessons here a lot shorter. I know 30 minutes is still a pretty long lesson for on here, but I'm trying to keep them to 10 to 20 minutes if I can, just to help the channel build itself better. It seems like people like those kind of shorter lessons better. But people that really want to learn and really want to like grow and get better, they like the longer lessons, because that's what it takes to get better, is really, digging down and really learning everything that there is to learn. All right, so that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. And again, if you like this and you want to go into more detail about how to draw the male figure, I'm gonna have that extended lesson where we'll go more into the leg muscles, the kneecaps here, all the way down to the feet, more into the hands and that fist area. We'll pull both arms back for a more completed pose. We'll also maybe draw the entire pose again, but this time from a more 3/4 view, which might remind you of like some Superman poses that you've probably seen in comic books and stuff. And so we'll do something like that. Yeah, and hey, stay tuned. I think the next free video I'm gonna have on here is how to draw Deadpool. And of course, it's not, my lesson's a little different. They're not just like, hey, let's draw Deadpool and make sure you add this shape and that shape and this shape there. But rather I go into the mechanics of what makes Deadpool Deadpool and drawing in general. And so to take this approach here and figure out, well, is Deadpool, is he a 7-headed tall person, 8-headed tall person, 9-headed tall, 8.5, what is the typical size that Deadpool's drawn in? And then take that idea of this basic idea we just learned here and apply that to Deadpool, and then we can figure out, well, what kind of anatomy does he have? Is he just kind of more a bigger person and sort of more skinnier person? Spider-Man and Deadpool have slightly different anatomy. Deadpool being a little bit more buffer, but Deadpool being more on the slender side of Spider-Man. Anyway, so we'll add all that in there, and then we'll figure, okay, now what kind of suit do we want to give him? And how do we add that to our character? So when you're finished with when I teach how to draw someone like Deadpool, you know how to draw Deadpool from like pretty much any angle. If you already know how to draw the human figure, then it's like it takes that knowledge, that level of drawing Deadpool and specializing in drawing that particular character, and you're able to take it and draw Deadpool in your own fashion, your own way, add your own poses to him, stuff like that. So it's how to really create Deadpool and from the ground up. And I think that's the best way to approach this kind of drawing, especially comic books. Personally, I like it. Being able to draw from imagination, to me, is way funner than drawing stuff I see. Nonetheless, though, I'm also going to be doing some lessons on how to draw what you see, but not just draw exactly what you see, but take inspiration from what you see and take knowledge from how to draw from imagination and kind of blending them together and making your own thing. And I'll probably be doing a whole course on that as well. Not only how to draw what you see, exactly what you see, but get a pretty good, accurate representation of what you're seeing. And if you want to get it accurate, you can use the same type of techniques and get it accurate and make it exactly what you see. But why not just take a photograph? And how to take that and say, okay, well, what can make reality look best? In art-wise, using the right colors, the right kind of shadows, the contrasting, things like that. So it's how to make art from what you see, not just like try to replicate what you're looking at, but to take what you're looking at and make a piece of art out of it. And so I think that'd be a really cool course. And but I got some other courses I gotta finish up first. Right now I'm still working on how to paint with Manga Studio. What's really cool about that course, though, it's not just how to paint with Manga Studio. That is, it's not just a generic course on how to digital paint, but in this case using Manga Studio instead of something like Photoshop or something. But rather, it's going to have a lot of universal things in it that teach how to paint in general, as well as how to paint specifically with Manga Studio. But things like composition, which is really important, I think, to a painting. And it's going to have that kind of stuff in it. Or it already does, actually. I've already got a lot of it done. So, I go through a lot of the mistakes that beginner painters make, whether it's digital or physical painter. Whether they add too much detail or not enough contrast, or everything's just kind of the same contrast, brightness and darkness, so it just kind of looks flat and it doesn't have that real pop to it, and not to overdo contrast either everywhere, because then you kind of lose the central focus of your painting. Things about hue and saturation. And of course, I'm going to show the specifics of Manga Studio to its strengths. How to blend with it, different ways you can blend with it to mix your paints together, and to add. Blending means to basically take your colors and make something out of it. To blend them together in some way where you have one color kind of blending together and also making form pop, like how to paint this figure right here, and how is it blending would be taking the color it takes in the different hues and things and tones it takes to take the chest and make it look three-dimensional, and how to blend those colors together so it doesn't look cartoonish. How to use different colors together to make flesh, to make rocks, to make things, to make the whole painting look unified. Definitely, like I said, we're going to go through a lot of the just fundamentals of painting in general. And so that's going to really, I think, be really good. And so when I do make one on how to paint with Photoshop, since I know I'll get a lot of requests for that, some people won't want to use Manga Studio. They're going to want to use Photoshop. I understand that. I've used it for 17 plus years now. And I like Manga Studio better, but now now I gave it a shot and tried it, but Photoshop is still awesome and it's a great program. And so really, a lot of this stuff will carry on over to that course because there's no reason to redo it all. That course will just be specifically how, what differs from this course and the Photoshop course will be the Photoshop specific things. And so um, I'll probably, make it like I'm not really sure how I'm going to do that yet. Either maybe add it as part of this course or I can't really do it because it'd be too long of a name. So basically, the how to paint with Photoshop course will have a lot of the same information in it carried over, but the differences will be like this Photoshop specific stuff, like how to, what brushes to use and how to take those brushes and get the same effect across with that particular program. But yeah, we'll be going to like how to paint thumbnail sketches and their importance to your overall composition, to your overall painting. We'll have a quick guide to composition. I'm gonna go more into composition in another course on how to draw backgrounds. How to place your objects and paintings properly so that you have that kind of 3D look to it, how to compose your painting with values, and how to begin your painting, what kind of brushes you should start with, and things like that. Your color palettes, what they are, how you should use them, painting from black and white to color, using textures in your painting, color theory for digital painting, all this kind of stuff will be in there. So it's going to be a really full course. It's not just a basic, 1 to 2 hour little course on, hey, this is how to paint in Manga Studio, and they just kind of show you a little bit of blending and show you maybe step by step how they painted something, but they don't really tell you the hows and the whys. And that's what I try to do, is the hows and the whys and the things that matter, the things that actually, the knowledge that you can hold in the back of your head that will actually make you a better artist. So all right, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. If you do, please subscribe and share it with your friends. I'm sure the people, if you enjoyed it, they would enjoy it too, and they can learn something from it. I know that I kind of waffle on sometimes here and there, but forgive me for that. I don't do that in my courses, but I do it here on the free channel kind of a lot. I try not to do it on my paid channel either. But hey, this is free, so it's more just live, boom, record and do it. I don't really try to write a script or think about it ahead of time and stuff like that. All right, thanks for watching.